Science gathers knowledge faster than the society gathers wisdom. But wisdom is always greater than the perfections. Science and the technology and the research and the clinical practice should move parallel so that a good outcome can be achieved at the end. Hypertension is one of the biggest problems, not only in our country but worldwide. And it creates a lot of problems in terms of the cardiovascular risk and the difficulties we encounter in our practices also. This talk will speak on particularly hypertension on Indian scenario, history and the blood pressure measurement. What is ambulatory blood pressure measurement? We commonly call it as ABPM. Also, we like to point out some of the important clues treating hypertensive patient on the measurement that is found in home blood pressure monitoring and self blood pressure monitoring. Different guidelines, there are a plethora of guidelines for the treatment of the hypertension, what are the similarities and the differences, and the recent trials and their practical implications, particularly in the spring trial that is published in New England Journal of Medicine in 2015, and also the HOPE-3 trial. And some special cases where the patient is diabetic, hypertensive, along with the patient is having some kind of kidney problem that can lead to difficulties while treating such type of patients. And the chronopharmacology. So what is chronopharmacology and how it can be defined, that I will talk on in the slides in the later part of the discussion. The prevalence in India, hypertension is increasing, and the urban is outnumbering the rural. In last 50 years of period, since 1945 to 1995, there was a much steeper increase in prevalence of hypertension in the urban populations than the rural populations. In our studies, we used to read years back that only 50% of the populations are detected to have hypertension. Among them, only 50% are well controlled. But in India, the scenario is much worse. So that because much number of patients are under-detected and the blood pressure is under control, and a lot of complications already been taken place before the patient is diagnosed to have severe hypertension. So despite all this effort and the scientific agenda and the academic meetings and the CMEs, the level of awareness about the blood pressure is still significantly low in India, which is also evident with lower proportion of patients receiving optimal control at the end of the hypertension treatment. Okay? Science is incomplete without the history. The first concept of having heart as a pump is established by Galen in between first to second century, and this is in the 1733. Stephen Hales, it is the first person, and he used to measure the blood pressure by some crazy things. What he did actually, he put a brass pipe into the carotid artery, and that is connected to a tube, long tube, and that tube was connected to the pipe by the trachea of the goose, and thereby he said that the blood has significant amount of pressure, force, and then you can see the blood column that is occupying the glass tube. And these crazy things later on, and putting input to the concept of measuring blood pressure and inventing the blood pressure measuring device. And after 100 years later, the mercury manometer was invented by River Rossi in 1890s. Sphygmo means pulse, and the manometer measured. So everybody is aware of this blood pressure measurement technique, and it should be taken at an interval of 2 to 3 minutes. At least 3 readings should be there, but in the basic clinical practice it is very difficult to get the 3 readings. At least 2 must be taken And in our practice, what do we see actually? The patient coming to your clinic or my clinic, I measure the blood pressure. For example, the initial blood pressure is X. And after talking to the patients, talking to the family members, examining the patient becomes calm and quiet. And after 10 minutes, when you again check the blood pressure, in 15 to 20% of the patient, you will see that the systolic blood pressure and the diastolic blood pressure are much lower than the initial reading. So this is important. So at least twice 2 readings should be there for the adequate measurement of the blood pressure. Patients should be asked to refrain from smoking or drinking tea, coffee, and he should not exercise at least 30 minutes prior to measuring blood pressure. We should allow the patient to sit for at least 5 minutes in a quiet room before beginning the blood pressure measurement, and it should be done preferably in the sitting or supine position. Patient arms should be fully bared and supported at the level of the heart, and to measure the blood pressure in both arms in the first visit and use higher of the 2 readings. This is important. So any faulty technique or any inadequate measuring the blood pressure can lead to spurious measurement in terms of the blood pressure of the patient. So this is very, very important. In different trials, particularly the spring trial, there is the new trial and also the HOPE-3 trial, they are very stringent in measuring the blood pressure in an adequate manner so that we can get a perfect blood pressure response and we can add antihypertensive medication to that group of patients who actually need it. What is ambulatory blood pressure monitoring? This is very, very important in present scenario. In fact, the Indian guidelines on hypertension and also from the abroad and the Western countries like from America, American College of Cardiology, European Society of Cardiology are strict and stringently and very strongly endorsing in the use of the ambulatory blood pressure monitoring to detect different types of hypertension. You can detect borderline hypertension, white coat hypertension, everybody is aware of, and white coat hypertension is found not only in normal individuals but also in 20 to 30% of the patients who have been already diagnosed to have hypertension can have white coat hypertension. They are the high office blood pressure. Isolated systolic hypertension can also be detected. Most important parameter to be looked in ABPM is that nocturnal peak. Majority of the cardiovascular events take place either in the night time or in the very early morning when the hormonal charge is high. So if the blood pressure response is, blood pressure is not decreased at night time during the sleep, so it is an surrogate marker of future cardiovascular events. Those group of patients who are not having nocturnal lead may have high cardiovascular complications in the recent years. Many patients you put them on antihypertensive regimens and they get up at night, and whenever they going to toilet or whether they walk from the bed and they feel some dizziness. So this group of patients may have some kind of hypertension. So to detect hypertension, ambulatory blood pressure monitoring is also very, very important. Another group of patients we call it as a masked hypertension. Masked hypertension means in the real world scenario or during the job or in office duties or at home if patient is having high blood pressure. But whenever they come to your office or your clinic, while examining the blood pressure, you will find that the blood pressure is much lower or it may be normal. So this group of patients is called masked hypertension, and it may be normal in the office and abnormally high out of the medical environment. So prevalence of masked hypertension is 30% in the population-based studies. And compared to the true normotensive subjects, this group of patients having asymptomatic organ dysfunctions, they have increased risk of diabetes and sustained hypertension, and the cardiovascular events rates are significantly high compared to the normal population. White coat hypertension is very, very important to detect, and it is recommended that the diagnosis be confirmed within 3 to 6 months with close investigations and follow-up, including repeated out-of-the-office blood pressure measurements. White coat hypertension, this group of patients are also at high risk of cardiovascular events, and 20 to 30% of the patients are having some kind of organ dysfunction. We call it target organ damage. They can have any problem in the kidney, there will be retinopathy, there will be renal dysfunctions, or there might be left ventricular hypertrophy. Left ventricular hypertrophy is one of the most important surrogate marker of future cardiovascular events. So the importance of the ABPM brings different types of diagnosis, and also it helps us for instituting different antihypertensive regimen to those different those group of patients where diagnosis is also very difficult, whether the patient is hypertensive or not. That also sometimes brings a lot of difficulties. So this leaves with a significant percent of patients either misdiagnosed or undiagnosed when we don't use the ABPM. So here it comes the importance of the ambulatory blood pressure monitoring. There are a few limitations of the ABPM. I just want to mention that also, because every time the cuff bladder gets inflated, the patient might feel discomfort, and that is, you have to talk to the patient and you have to counsel the patient very well, so that during the inflation of the bladder, the patient should not get apprehended. Otherwise, there might be spuriously high level of blood pressure. So that's why multiple readings are taken at 30 minutes interval or 1 hour intervals. And what we do, particularly at night time, we increase the duration of blood pressure measurements at 1 hour interval. We increase the interval so that the nocturnal discomfort is less. Otherwise, you might have spuriously high blood pressure. You may not get the nocturnal dip, but actually it is having, but because of the high anxiety and discomfort, you may not get the proper nocturnal dip. So there should be at least 20% decline of systolic and diastolic blood pressure during the sleep, and that is helpful for prevention of the cardiovascular events. In 2013, European Society of Heart and the European Society of Cardiology, and they endorsed that in mass hypertension, both lifestyle measures and antihypertensive drug treatment should be considered, because this type of hypertension has been consistently found to have a cardiovascular risk very close to that in and out of the office hypertension. So it is a class 2A recommendations. So, and there are evidence to show that the use of ABPM and also treatment of those white coat hypertension and mass hypertension can lead to reduction of the cardiovascular events in future. In white coat hypertension also, European Society of Hypertension and European Society of Cardiology in 2013 strongly recommending that we should use ABPM, and also those group of patients who needs treatment, we should start the treatment very early in the course of the disease, so that we get a good outcome after 5 to 6 years down the line. This is the recommendations, and this is the level of blood pressure where we can define whether the patient is hypertensive or not. Limitation of the ABPM has been described. Now, in 2013 and 2014, there are waning of the guidelines. It was very difficult for the general physicians and also for the cardiologists also which type of guidelines we choose, because there is no proper Indian guidelines. And the studies regarding the hypertension and their treatment issues and the complications are very scanty in Indian setting. That is why even if we have heavy rainfall of guidelines in 2013, we have to be very careful in choosing different guidelines. So all the treatment issues related to the hypertension is individual basis. We have to treat after looking into all the aspects of the hypertensions, organ dysfunctions. Also we have to look into the primary and secondary causes of the hypertension, so that nothing is missed out and the patient gets the right treatment and finally will get the right benefit. So there are different plethora of guidelines. European Society of Cardiology, JNC8. JNC8 is one of the most controversial guidelines ever endorsed in this world. After that, there is American Society of Hypertension, International Society of Hypertension, also endorsing different guidelines on hypertension. Finally, we have the Indian guidelines on hypertension. JNC article is designed to rigorously address 3 specific questions: blood pressure criteria for diagnosis, BP targets for the treatment, and the choice of the first drug. For example, JNC 8 is literally dragging out the beta blockers from the list of the antihypertensive regimen. So they are implicating ACE inhibitors, ARB, and thiazide-like diuretics, but not the beta blockers. But recently, they are endorsing that we should use 4th generations or newer beta blockers, where the side effects of the older generation beta blockers like atenolol is significantly less. One very important scientific statement that is made in the Agartala trial, that atenolol can decrease the peripheral blood pressure, but it doesn't decrease the central aortic pressure significantly. That's why the incidence of the strokes and the prevalence of the strokes in the live trial and the Agartala trials are significantly higher compared to the other ACE inhibitors and ARB and thiazide-like diuretics. So, in different guidelines like European Society of Cardiology, this guidelines is written as a detailed evaluation of the relevant literature across the spectrum of the hypertension and to serve as a working tool for the academic and the practicing experts in hypertension. European Society of Cardiology, this guideline is probably one of the most important practical guidelines ever done or ever designed, and it helps for the clinical practitioners for treatment of the hypertension. American Society of Hypertension and International Society of Hypertension guidelines are also designed as a comprehensive way and to formulate and to understood and put into the practice by the primary care practitioners and for the frontline providers. NICE guidelines is designed in UK, and it is also a very comprehensive guidelines. It helps us for treatment of the hypertension. So I don't want to go in details of all and every aspect of the hypertension. JNC 8, I just want to comment on this JNC 8. Every guidelines is strongly recommended to start the treatment based on the evidence. Scientific evidence comes from different studies. The studies should be randomized controlled trial, double-blind trial, and this brings the evidence, proper scientific evidence. But in JNCA, so it is a contrary. So the contradiction that is led, which is led to the controversies for the JNCA is that 60% of the recommendations in the JNCA were based on the expert opinion. So only 10% recommendations were based on clinical trial and evidence. That's why it is one of the most controversial guidelines. What are the statements that made by JNCA? So this is also very controversial. And for example, the target systolic blood pressure and the target diastolic blood pressure, if the age of the patient is more than 60 years, so they are putting the target of systolic blood pressure is less than 150 and diastolic blood pressure target is kept at less than 90. And if the patient age is less than 60 years, they have brought down the target of systolic blood pressure to 140 and diastolic blood pressure to 90. So the depth of 10 millimeter of mercury is not accepted. The problem is that the 10 millimeter of mercury can lead to serious cardiovascular events in future. So why they are not picking the target similar in both the group of the patients? But in the other trials, you will notice that, particularly in the European Society of Cardiology and American Society of Cardiology hypertension guidelines, you will see that the target blood pressure is raised, the threshold is raised, and particularly in the octogenarian patients. Those patients whose age is more than 80 years. So here the target is raised, but in the JNCA, they have brought down the target to 150, 90 and 140, 90. And the age is 60 years. So more than is, if the age of the patient is more than 60 years, so the target blood pressure received systolic 150 and diastolic 90. And they didn't put any statements in terms of the reduction of the proteinuria. And also reduction of the heart failure and myocardial infarction in terms of the antihypertensive treatment regimen. So this substantiates that in the general population, age 60 years or older, initiate pharmacological treatment. And they mind it that it is one of the strong recommendations, they level it as a grade A. And if the population is 60 years or older, you initiate the pharmacological treatment, you lower blood pressure and systolic pressure, 150 or higher the diastolic pressure 90, or higher to treat the goal of systolic blood pressure lower than 150 and diastolic blood pressure lower than 90. So the treatment target is that the blood pressure, if the age of the patient is more than 60 years, the systolic blood pressure should not bring down to less than 150 and diastolic blood pressure should not bring down to less than 90. In minority of the JNCA panel disagreed with the recommendation to increase the target blood pressure from 140 to 150 in person age 60 years or older without diabetes or chronic kidney disease. And that increased target may reduce intensity of the antihypertensive treatment and those at high risk of cardiovascular disease. And there is lack of evidence supporting this increased threshold. And with higher systolic blood pressure goal will reverse the decades from decline in cardiovascular disease. There is scientific progress has been made. A lot of trials have been conducted to decrease the cardiovascular risk for the last 20 years, 30 years. So we can increase the threshold of treatment, then it might bring down that decline to a less significant way. So this wide agreement that 140 versus 150 millimeter of mercury exposes an evidence that must be addressed. I already mentioned that the other guidelines are commented particularly on the less stringent blood pressure control in the group of patients whose age is more than 80 years. This goal of blood pressure keeping at 80 years or 60 years is based on these different some three randomized control trial, ALHAT, RELO, and the ACCOMPLISH trial. One important fact I just want to mention on ACCOMPLISH trial is that the combination of the AC inhibitors and the calcium channel blocker is better in terms of cardiovascular risk reductions compared to the combination of an AC inhibitor and a diabetic. That is what the ACCOMPLISH trial told us. So, and also the blood pressure response is also better with the combination of the AC inhibitors and calcium channel blocker. This has been mentioned regarding the hypertension. One important issue just want to mention is that there are different target blood pressure response. Different target has been set, particularly different group of patients. Those who are only hypertensive, those who are hypertensive and diabetic, and those who are hypertensive, diabetic, and also having kidney problem. So if the patient is having proteinuria, it is better to keep the blood pressure at a lower level. And the systolic target is 130 and diastolic blood pressure target is less than 80. So and if the patient is not having any kind of proteinuria, so you can keep the blood pressure target at a higher level like 140 by 90. So this is the diabetes here. People with diabetes and hypertension should be treated with systolic blood pressure goal of less than 140. And lower systolic targets like 130 may be appropriate for certain individuals like younger populations where the chances of complications related to the antihypertensive regimen is less. I mean the hypertension. Hypertension is significantly lower in younger populations compared to the older populations. And individuals with diabetes should be treated with a diastolic blood pressure target of less than 90 millimeters per day. So different gray zones have been talked on and discussed regarding the JNCA, and I don't want to go in details of this recent guidelines, but few of the things just want to mention. This critical guidelines session, what lessons will find from these guidelines? The guidelines and the statements should not be viewed as a substitute for sound clinical reasoning in making diagnostic and therapeutic decisions. The time has come for an everlasting single global guidelines document, which is very lacking. Because it's very difficult to get in global guidelines because the ethnicity, the languages are different, the social culture and the ethics are different. The best way to move forward is to apply different guidelines in a complementary fashion to render individualized treatment. So individualized treatment to get the better outcome is much more important than to stick to a particular guideline. Indian hypertension guideline has to be mentioned about that I already discussed about newer beta blockers strategy. So they mentioned newer beta blockers. The older beta blockers combination with a thyroid diabetics can lead to new onset diabetes and metabolic problem in significant way. That's why the newer beta blockers are lacking of this adverse complications that is seen in older beta blockers. That's why they recommend to use beta blockers, and they drag down the beta blockers in far lower order, probably the third and fourth group of patients. One controversy, whether it is resolved or not, is very difficult to say, particularly in the clinical setting. That is the use of the chlorhelidone. Are you using chlorhelidone? That's the question for the audience. This is one of the very good molecules, chlorhelidone. Previously we have been using hydrochlorothiazide in a lot of cases. But now chlorhelidone has been brought into the clinical practice. The chlorhelidone is not a simple diuretic. It has a lot of other pleiotropic effect. For example, the new concept I just want to share with you is that when the patient becomes hypertensive, lot of sodium and water getting inside the arterial wall. And the chlorhelidone is one molecule. It can extract sodium and water from the arterial wall, and also it improves the tonicity of the blood vessels. And that's why it decreases the peripheral vascular resistance. And the diuretic action actually persists initial 3 to 4 weeks time. After the peripheral vascular response is brought in. And that is the mechanism of action of chlorhelidone that sustains for longer time. So that is why we have to be very careful in the initial first month so that the patient doesn't suffer any kind of dyselectrolytemia. Because hyponatremia and hypokalemia and also hypomagnesemia is quite common in initial first month of the initiation of the therapy. I mean the chlorhelidone. And also the new onset diabetes, that concept is given. So that if the patient suffers hypokalemia and the potassium sensitive channels are closed down and the insulin cannot be liberated to the circulations, and that is why the patient develops insulin resistance like syndrome. And therefore, maintaining a good potassium level in the blood after the initiation of the thiazide like diuretics like chlorhelidone is very, very important. So this is we found in this Agartala trial one of the largest hypertension trial ever conducted in this world. And now they coming to fixed dose combination and the polypills. And this is one of the recent concepts. So it increases the anxiety of the patients taking more medications. If the patient takes more medications, there is very high likelihood of the patient can lose the compliance. So that is why fixed dose combination is brought to the attention and is one of the most practical way for treatment of the hypertension. Beta blockers have been prescribed, and there are some controversies and dissimulators among the different types of guidelines. For example, in the European Society of the Cardiology in 2013, endorsing the use of beta blockers, particularly in the younger population, in the class 1 recommendations. I marked it with this one, red color box. And in Indian JNCA guidelines, the JNCA guidelines and the Indian guidelines has dragged down the beta blockers to far lower positions. So this dissimilarities in is very, very important, but it should not be deviated from our usual clinical practice. For example, in young persons, sympathetic drive is high, hypertensive patients, we can use beta blockers. Those group of patients who suffered a myocardial infarction, we can use beta blockers. We'll have better response with beta blockers group of patients. So the beta blocker has many questions, though it is questions, the use of beta blocker has been questions, but we can use in particular situations, particularly in the younger populations where the sympathetic drive is high, or if the patient is suffering from myocardial infarctions, or the patient is having some kind of tachyarrhythmia. In those group of patients, we can use beta blockers. So, from the guidelines, we have to look both ways. Unless we do not have a level 1A evidence, there is always a chance we can be gone over by the fast moving guidelines. So before commenting or starting an antihypertensive regimen, we should look into all the guidelines and also individual aspects of the patients, and accordingly we should give the medications. Recent trials are screen trials, non-diabetic patients. This trial is conducted particularly in the non-diabetic patients. They brought down the blood pressure target from 140 to 120 and looking into the outcomes, and they told that intensive treatment with antihypertensive regimen bringing down the systolic blood pressure less than 120 brings better response compared to the 140 systolic blood pressure target. So there is 25% lower risk of primary outcome if we bring down the target systolic blood pressure to 120. But this trial has been criticized by another trial. This is the HOPE-3 trial. They say that if we bring down the target blood pressure to a much lower level like 120, we can invite more complications. That's why it's very, very important to individualize the treatment strategy. Another important trial everybody aware is Accord trial. Accord trial has a hypertension arm, and it says that like the sugar control, intensive blood pressure response have no benefit in terms of cardiovascular risk reductions for diabetic patients. So even if the patient is diabetic or even if the patient is non-diabetic, we should keep the blood pressure target systolic 140 and diastolic 90. And if the patient is having proteinuria, so we have to bring down the target to 130 and 80. So this is the final statement they made. I think it is too long, and one important issue is the J curve. Previously it is thought that the hypertension there is no J curve. You can bring down the blood pressure as low as possible if the patient is asymptomatic. But recent in 2016, the Rome European Society of Cardiology, the meeting, they endorsed that we should not bring down the diastolic blood pressure less than 120 and systolic blood pressure less than 120 and diastolic blood pressure less than 70 because the risk of myocardial infarction and stroke increases. So the hypertension definitely have a J-shaped curve. Regarding the kidney and proteinuria have been described. Pharmacology. Some of the trials are targeting the use of antihypertensive regimen, particularly in the evening time. And they are saying that if we give the antihypertensive medications in the evening time, there is a high chance that we might get a better response in terms of blood pressure reductions. So this is not finalized, this is not a complete statement, and no guidelines has endorsed of it, but it is just a fact, and it should be, we should have a larger clinical experiences, and some of the larger studies must be conducted. So to conclude, hypertension remains a condition of public health and importance in India. Methodology to measure accurate blood pressure should be given with due importance. ATPM is very useful. It can detect a lot of hypertension-related problems. Although the recent trials have provided useful information for lowering blood pressure further, usual goal of blood pressure should be followed that have been described. Blood pressure goals can be lowered further in some special population, particularly in the kidney insecurity patients. for having proteinuria in the younger population where the risk of the hypertension is less. And the choice of the drug for controlling blood pressure should be individualized. It is not possible to write evidence-based guidelines when credible and relevant evidence doesn't exist. Guidelines by excessive extrapolations, as all the guidelines you can extrapolate many things, but there could be incomplete evidence that has to be misleading sometimes, and the expert opinion is sometimes the only way, like only 60% expert opinion in JNCA, so this brings the controversy, and actually no single size fits all. Even if we have lot of guidelines, we have lot of statements, even lot of trials, lot of randomized control trials, the best way to treat hypertension is the individual approach. Whether we see both ways, all the aspects, all the clinical and the paraclinical and the ethical and the scientific way, so that out of the all we can get the best response. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for giving wonderful insight on the theoretical aspect as well as practical implication, and also updating us for the recent update in the field of hypertension. Now the forum is open for question and answer. So if you have any question, our speaker will answer those queries.
She feels better. It is sometimes high 170 or 180 means she will be feeling bad. Poor is 50. We should continue or not? That drug.
This is a very difficult situation. This particular systolic blood pressure, this is isolated systolic hypertension, and the diastolic blood pressure declines because the tone of the artery is losing and it becomes stiff, and because of that it cannot generate diastolic blood pressure. That's why the diastolic blood pressure drops and the systolic blood pressure increases. It's become very stiff. So here you have to again take the part of the individual approach, and you have to look at when the patient is symptomatic. And sometimes this group of patients are very sensitive for the treatment. If you can bring the diastolic blood pressure from 60 to 50, they are very symptomatic. They can develop stroke, ischemic stroke. And if the systolic blood pressure is increased from 60 to 70, they are very symptomatic. So that's why I think keeping the systolic blood pressure at 160 and the diastolic blood pressure at least 60, because this recent statement made by the European Society of Cardiology in Rome 2016, if the diastolic blood pressure is below 70, there is very high risk of MI and stroke. That's why I think it is better to keep the diastolic blood pressure a little bit higher and don't bring the diastolic blood pressure to 50. So I think you have to choose those medications where the antihypertensive effects are less. For example, the ramipril. If you can ramipril 2.5 mg, I think it will solve your problem because it will not decrease the systolic and diastolic blood pressure too much, and also it will protect the heart and also protect the brain.
I'm using this slow D, slower down soap only as slow or any other thing. The systolic is going up. It is 180 also, 200 also. Sometimes this problem I face.
Chlorothalidone is too much. So you can add 6.25 chlorothalidone, and also you ask the patient for not to restrict the salt intake too much. That you can do it.
I can try ramipril also.
Don't use the beta blocker. This patient having tachycardia without any known cause for tachycardia and blood pressure and heart.
For bronchial asthma patient, beta blockers. Two beta blockers are very, very selective in terms of the beta 1 selectivity. That is, one is bisoprolol and one is nebivolol. I think here you can use nebivolol or bisoprolol. But one important issue with bisoprolol is that if you increase the bisoprolol dose, it becomes non-selective. It can also create some bronchospasm. So in this case, probably nebivolol will be a better choice. Speaking from
WHO recommends that for measurement of BP, we should measure 3 times, 3 minutes apart, and we should record the lowest. But sir, you have said we should have the average. What is the rationale behind? Which will give us the better measurement? What is the point? Sir, you have said we should take the average.
They have some statements on measuring the blood pressure, but as such there is no proper guidelines conducted by the WHO. So we have to follow the guidelines, and the American and the European and also the Indian guidelines saying that to take the average blood pressure. Because the problematic way to check the blood pressure is that the initial blood pressure reading is always high. Because at that time patient is having some kind of anxiety, you are checking the blood pressure for the first time. And you will see the differences 3 minutes apart if you take 3 readings. First, the blood pressure you measure in the third reading is always usually lower than the first reading. So that's why it's better to take the 3 measurements and take the average.